Hi guys, in this video we'll be looking at Gravity by John Mayer. Now I'm sure everyone's already heard this song because it's brilliant. If you haven't, please go listen to it. But I'm going to play it for your benefit to give us something to work from. Hello and welcome. My name is Thomas, and in this Gravity guitar lesson we'll be covering all parts of the song apart from the solo. We're going to do a separate video for that because we really want to get the detail and we don't want this video to be too long. So that is the verse / chorus, the same thing, the pre-chorus and the intro lick that is so famous, so synonymous with this song. We're also going to look at the kind of guitar embellishments of really basic chords and the way he makes it sound really cool, puts licks in the chords rather than having rhythm and lead separate, and a little bit of how he's doing that, a little bit of theory behind that, and giving you some pointers and trying to find those things for yourself. But before we get started, I just want to say don't forget to like and subscribe, and if you like what you're seeing and you want a bit more, please click the link below this video in the description to take you to our website where you'll see a write-up of this lesson with chord shapes and a little bit more information on what we're doing here. Okay, so let's get started. Let's go straight into where we first hear the guitar, which is that melody in the verse, well, over the verse structure. It's the kind of the most iconic bit, I think, of this song. So we're starting with, we all know and love it. So what is that? I'm starting with a slide from the 7th fret to the 9th fret on the G string with my second finger, before playing the 8th fret on the B string twice. Okay, and then I'm bending the 10th fret to the 12th fret. And I'm doing this kind of double bend thing where I bend, I release it, and then quickly bend it back up. Okay, and try and put as much vibrato on basically any note that you can in this, because it just makes it sound alive and really kind of brings that extra flavor. So that little section is most of this initial melody. It's kind of like a question and answer phrase. One's a question, then answer, then question, then answer. So get that bit down. I'll do it nice and slow for you. So the first part of the melody, he holds that bend, and then everything comes in. So we move on to the second part. So I'm going to refer to this as part 1, part 2, part 3, and part 4 just on. So that would be part 2 for me, just for clarity's sake. So it's the same intro, sliding from the 7th to the 9th. 2. Then a double bend again, but this time resolving to the 10th fret on the B string. I'm picking that note. Nice and simple. Now the third time is just the same as the first. Nice and easy. And now our last time. So that is a bend, up, down, pull off, and then pick again. Okay, so I'll do that last one slowly. Lovely, lovely little melody. So try and get that nice and clear, get your slides nice and easy, and the bends, particularly the pitching of the bends, has got to be spot on here. And see if you can get some vibrato on the bent notes. It's not easy at all. The way I do it, the way I learned to do it was try and hold the bend, and then very slowly just minimally release it and bring it back up again, okay? That's the way to practice this. It's going to sound pretty horrible, like a cat crying, but when you start to speed it up, it becomes vibrato. So take it real easy, get it nice and clean, as much kind of fluctuation as you want in it, and then just start to speed it up gradually until it's really, really vibrato. I'm not sure that's a word, but it is now. So that is our melody done. Now we move on to the kind of the verse and the chorus, and well, the chords, because they're essentially the same thing. The chords that he's using are the two main kind of chords, which are G and C. As didn't mention, but we're in the key of G major, and basically the verse and the chorus is just a 1/4 back and forth, which kind of gives it that blues-esque kind of thing. So we're starting with our G chord, and it's going to come off an E bar shape, if you know this. It's an E major. Imagine a bar across that nut. Slide that up to the 3rd fret. That's where our shape's coming from. We're leaving the notes out on the E and the A string. So we're left with 3rd finger on the 5th fret of the D string, 2nd finger on the 4th fret of the G string, 1st finger on the 3rd fret of the B and the E string. Okay? Get that nice and clear. So that's going to be our chord for the G. Now, the second chord in this section is the C, and it's going to be this. So that is 3rd finger on the 7th fret of the A string, and then 1st finger across the 5th frets of the D, G, and B string. Okay? So this comes from a G shape. Believe it or not, you can actually make a G bar shape. Not that you're particularly going to get a chance to use this because it's a little bit ugly. So what we're doing actually is taking this root note. There's our root note C. We're taking that out of the chord, and we're taking the high E string out as well. And we're left with A, D, G, and B strings with that shape we were playing. So that's where I'm looking at it from, right there on that E string. So we'll look at the kind of embellishments he's doing to the chords over both of these, and I'll show you like the general kind of way he's approaching it. So our G chord, the reason he's doing it with a bar is so he's got his pinky free, and because he's such a big fan of Jimi Hendrix, he picked up all that kind of stuff, which is where the embellishment's coming from in this. So that initial guitar melody that's going on, you can hear whenever everything kicks in that as soon as it ends, there's a chordy guitar that's playing licks. I'm going to show you what those are. So that's the first one that comes after. So what is that? So we've got our G shape. What we're going to do is hammer on with our pinky from the 3rd fret of the B string to the 5th fret and pull off whilst the rest of our chords held down. So we'll get little melodies around the chord. So get that pinky going, strum up to the B string. Sorry, so here we're not going to use the high E string, just D, G, and B strings of this shape. Okay, get that? It's just pinky on the B string. So back down again, so hammer on, play off, and then hammer on again. Try and get the strength in that pinky to do that. After that, he's changing his fingering so he can get a hammer on onto the third note in the chord. So that is, we're going from our normal shape here to pinky or fourth finger on the 5th fret of the D string, second finger on the 3rd fret of the B string, and first finger on the 2nd fret of the G string. We're doing that so we can get this hammer on the G string from the 2nd fret to the 4th fret. So it's a hammer on and then playing the note on the 2nd fret and then playing the note on the D fret, on the D string. Really nice little chord embellishment there, all just centered around the G. So I'll show you a few more and then I'll explain what they are. So then we come, when the chord changes to C, this is on the 2nd melody now. Goes to C here. We've got this shape that I showed you before, which was 7, 5, 5, 5 on the A, D, G, and B. Now we're coming in with a hammer on, so we're barring 5th fret of all 4 strings, and we're hammering with a 3rd finger from the 5th fret of the A string onto the 7th. Okay, so that's how he starts it. Just again, giving this chord just a bit more life, a bit more breathing room. Really nice. And then he's doing that. So that is like a response to the melody. So it kind of mirrors what's happening in the melody, just changes it slightly. So what's that? Those are harmonies of thirds, the interval of thirds and notes. So the way he's doing that is starting from the 7th fret of the D string with his 3rd finger, and then the 5th fret of the G string with his 1st finger. He's starting there and plucking it and then immediately sliding up 2 frets, so we're on the 9th and the 7th now, and then sliding back down. Okay, so that's his little lick for the C. So we'll play up to here. So we've got the G, then the C, and because we're in a 6/8 time here rather than a 4/4, so anyone who doesn't know, 4/4 is when you've got 4 crotchets that make up 1 bar, and 6/8 is when we've got 6/8 notes making up the bar. So rather than 1, 2, 3, 4, we've got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We've got 2 strong beats. I don't want to get too much into that, but because of this time signature, we've got loads of breathing room. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay? So that is 2 licks across half of essentially the intro / the verse. So we'll go back to the G. And we've got a slight alteration to the lick we just did. So we come to our shape. And now we've got slight alteration to the shape, in fact. So he's no longer got the note on the D string of this shape. He's taken that off and he's going to be using that finger later. So we've got a strum and then a hammer on with the pinky, this time onto the high E string. Hammer on, and then pluck or play the 3rd fret. But when you're playing that 3rd fret after the hammer on, your 3rd finger is going to play the 5th fret of the B string. So we've got this contra motion. One note goes down, that goes down, and the one note goes up, which is really cool. And then a similar kind of tail to the end of that lick. So Try and get that. Again, that's pinky onto the 5th fret of the E string, hammer on after the strum, and then as soon as you've done that, the pinky comes off, but the 3rd finger goes on to the 5th fret of the B string, and you're going to strum it again. Okay? And then you're going to strum one last time, taking your 3rd finger off. That's what it sounds like. Ooh. And then we're going to shift our fingers again. This time I can't quite hear whether his pinky's down. It doesn't really make that much difference. You can put it down if you want, or you can just do this version, which is 1st finger on the 2nd fret of the G string, 2nd finger on the 3rd fret of the B string, and then the same hammer on as before. So 3rd finger coming to the 4th fret of the G string, and then doing that 4, 2, and then 5 on the D string. So that lick, and then slow. Okay, and that's over the 2nd time of. Shouldn't say over, it's kind of the answer to that, so just after that. Okay, now on to the 4th time of the melody, and we've got just a simple, just playing the chords and a little bit of arpeggiating, just picking strings. This is one of those songs where I think John, for the most part, wrote what he was going to do, but felt a little bit of it out when he was recording it. So you'll see if you watch him play the song live, it changes every time because he doesn't have a specific part. He's just got general ideas for what he's going to do. So it'll be, I'll hold the chord, I won't do a lick. I'll hold the chord, I'll maybe play just a little arpeggio of it. But I doubt it was anything particularly concrete. So that's why it kind of chops and changes. And that's also why it doesn't hugely matter whether you play it exactly what's on the track. I'm just doing this to give you ideas of how he's kind of filling the space and how he's constructing his licks and these little embellishments. Okay, so that is the intro. Now, harmony-wise, G to C carries on for the verse and the chorus. So I'll explain a little bit more about the licks that are going on in the first verse. So once you start singing, we've got just our G shape. Now it's the D, G, B and E strings with a little chop. So 1, 2, 3, 2. So the way I'm chopping is hitting the strings quite hard so you get a bit of a snap back on them. And then I'm going to use my palm just to hit the strings immediately after. So if I do it slowly, it's like that. Just speed that up. You'll hear that quite a lot in kind of older records with the guitar doing like a choppy backbeat thing. Really great technique to get if you don't have that already. So try giving that just a slow chop and speeding it up till it's comfortable. So 1, 1, 2, 3, and then this little fill. So that's pinky hammering on to the 5th fret of the G string this time, and then strumming just that normal chord again. So hammering on, then coming off on that strum. So you're again hitting the 5th fret, 4th fret, and 3rd fret. So chop again. So 1, 2, 3, 2. Okay, so then we move to the C, and we've got that same shape as before. So that's 3rd finger on the 7th fret of the A, and then a bar across the 5th frets of the A, D, G, and B, so you can get a hammer on. So we're coming in with a hammer on, so we've just gone. Then a hammer on, just a strum. And then the lick here is more of those thirds. So let's break that into two parts. We've got, so I'm starting with my second finger on the 5th fret of the D, and my first finger on the 4th fret of the G, moving to the 7th fret of the D and 5th fret of the G, and then moving that 2 frets up. And for this shape, as you can see, I'm using my 3rd finger, but for the first shape is my 2nd. So 2nd and 1st, and then 3rd and 1st. So just treating those almost as one note at the same time. That's the first half. And then we go. So that's the same shape as before with our C, just the hammer on, just like we did at the start. But this time we're only going to play the A and the D string. And we're hammering on and pulling off. Before doing a really quick slide from the 7th fret of the E string to the 5th fret, and then playing the 3rd fret of the E string. So that bit, hammer on, pull off to the 7th and back to the 5th, and then your quick slide. So the way to do that quick slide is literally as soon as you pluck the string, slide it. Just gives that note. It's almost like doing that. It just gives it more character. Okay, so that bit. So from the start of that C section, 2, 3, and one more time slowly. Okay, moving back to our G. This time we've got a really interesting lick. So back to this G shape, but we're losing the D string out of it now, so just G, B and E. We've got this, and we're putting down now in thirds, but kind of like an octave apart. So it's almost like 6. There's this kind of strange mathematic symmetry between these between all these musical notes in a scale. We won't get too far into it, but thirds and sixths, that interval is basically the same thing, just swapped around. If you can hear that. Okay, so the way we're doing this is we've gone from our shape that we're starting with, and then we're playing with our 3rd finger on the 5th fret of the G, our 1st finger on the 3rd fret of the B, and our 4th finger on the 5th fret of the E, and we're going and then back. So original shape, new shape, and then back. And it's just moving those notes outside of the scale before going to the next C, and it's just hammer on again, that same shape as before, and just pick a couple of strings. Okay, so that makes up the verse and the chorus essentially. You get an idea of the licks that he's doing. I want to talk now about where those are coming from. So this, particularly in the G chord that's in the E caged shape, he's just using notes that are outside of the chord. So the notes that are in the chord from the scale are the 1st, 3rd and the 5th. He is then using the notes that aren't in it, so the 2nd, the 4th and the 6th of the major scale, to embellish it. Sometimes the major 7th comes in, but not a lot here, so I don't want to make a point of that. But you can see, if we were to play the scale, just like that, we pick those notes out of it, and we can use the other notes as kind of like journeys, use it as a journey to get to where we're going. And it just creates a sense of tension, release, tension, release. That's all it is. And just thankfully that in this shape, all the notes that lie within our pinky all sound really nice. So that's an E shape. See if you can move that around and do that same kind of thing in other songs. Really nice, really easy to make it sound good. So then the C chord, all these thirds, that's a really good idea for kind of just taking those fills and those licks just that little bit further. So the way he's done that is harmonizing thirds. I'm afraid we won't get into that too much now, but he's taken whatever note he's starting with, and within the scale of G major, he's gone that note. Then to the next note, he's skipped and used the note following that. So G and B, it would go G, A, B. So he's taken the A out, thrown it away, G, B. And then A and C in the scale of G major would go A, B, C. So he's thrown the B out. And then B and D, it would go B, C, D. So he's gotten rid of that middle one. And you're left with the interval of thirds, which always sound really good. And again, it's all this pentatonic embellishment of notes that aren't in the chord, but just lie one note away from the chord. So, which is why they all kind of work and fit together so nicely. So there's an idea of how he's kind of putting those little embellishments and those licks together. Try in various positions, pentatonic positions, scale positions, whatever, get your caged chords and try and do that kind of hammer-on fill just with notes that lie within the scale shapes. Just move them around as you see fit. Okay, so we move on to the pre-chorus now. So our first chord here is an A minor. The way I'm doing that is third finger on the 7th fret of the D string, first finger on the 5th fret of the G string, and fourth finger on the 8th fret of the B string. I'm also going to bar across with my first finger, so I've also got the 5th fret of the high E string for later. So the pattern is, okay, so we'll slow that down with the shape I've just shown you. It's D string, B string, G string, D string, A string, then G string, B string, G string, E string, B string, G string. So again, and we've got this kind of swung rhythm. Bum, 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 bum. It's not straight like that. It's got a little bit of kick to it. So again, that's, you're going to play the D string, then up to the B string, all the way down to the A string. Once you hit that A string, back up to the B string, B, G, high E string, and then B, G, and then repeat. Into our next chord, which is a D7, D dominant 7. So I'm using that from an A major cage shape, moving that up to the 5th fret, barring the 5th fret with my first finger on the A string all the way across. Then I've got third finger on the 7th fret of the D string and fourth finger on the 7th fret of the B string. So that's the chord. Okay, and this pattern is A, G, D, B, G. Okay, so we'll play all this so far. To the D. Okay, nice and simple. Moving to the next chord, which is a G minor, but it's got a B flat on the bass. So a bit of an inversion here. So that's first finger or thumb, if you're into that thing. First finger or thumb on the 6th fret of the E string, low. And then third finger on the 8th fret of the D string. Second finger on the 7th fret of the G string. And fourth finger on the 8th fret of the B string. And then it's a strum across all. And then an arpeggiation. It's a little bit hard to hear the exact pattern. And as I was saying, the exact pattern's not absolutely key here. It's just that a rhythm fits. Something like that. It works absolutely fine. So just saying that kind of swung rhythm. Okay, to our next chord, which is an E flat major 7. And this time it's second finger on the 6th fret of the A string, first finger on the 5th fret of the D string, and then fourth finger on the 7th fret of the G string. Took me a while to get that one. Okay, so, and then it's a chord, strumming those three, and just a nice arpeggiation again. Okay, so let's play up to this point. To D, to G minor, to E flat major 7, to our last chord, which is that D7 again. And this time he just strums it once and lets it ring out. Okay, so slowly move through those shapes. Try and get nice and clear sounds through all of them. Make sure all those notes are ringing out nicely. See if you can put a tiny bit of neck vibrato on those as well, just to really make it sing. Really nice changes. He goes slightly out of the key here. What's interesting here is he goes A minor, which is in the key of G major, D7, which is in the key of G major, but he uses this D7 as a vehicle, actually, not to get to G major, but to G minor. So it works very nicely, which sounds a bit abrupt, but doesn't sound really grinding or grating. It's quite a clever change, going to what's called the parallel minor. So G major, parallel minor is G minor. Same for all of them. E minor, parallel major is E major. It's as simple as that. So that's why we've just randomly got a G minor chord out of nowhere, followed by an E flat major 7. That's not in G major, but it is in G minor. And then back to our D7, which kind of crosses the boundary between majors and minors. And that's how he uses that to get back to the chorus of G major. And it sounds lovely. Okay guys, that's been it from me. What a great lesson. We've got part 2 coming up very shortly, which will be, you guessed it, the solo. I can't wait. I hope you're looking forward to it. So I just want to say thank you for watching. Good luck with the practice, and I'll catch you next time.